Could she really be here? Is this the quiet, beautiful place she was talking about?
How can you just let her die? Please, calm down.
How long does she have?
I'm afraid I'm not sure.
Okay, Q&A is happening. Feel free to ask anything. Yeah, I used to be a little bit faster a few years ago, but I wasn't also putting in as much detail as I am now. It's give and take, I would say. I'm mostly trying to get better at finding what the minimal amount of detail is to get, I guess, the right effect, because otherwise I can spend all day nitpicking and adding stuff, and I don't always need to. It's not that I don't enjoy putting detail in stuff, I just want to try and find that middle ground so I can get something done a little faster and put that time in on something else. There we are. Okay, that's the foreground, the middle ground. Just gonna do the background. And then I think this is done. At least for now. The last time I drew this graveyard, I didn't even put this much work into it. I'm trying to be a little bit more dynamic with my perspective. I don't know, I was doing some studying on this the other night and trying to find how much detail I actually need to try and create the illusion of perspective, and I don't think I've quite got my answer yet, but it's getting there. Yeah, I'm way behind on this comic because I've been busy playing catch up on a few other projects since I've got an animated trailer for that one guy wants for a video. He wants a little spokesman for. God damn it! Gotta find out how to fix that problem. Well, without having to resort to piracy, anyways. Yeah, that still got that glitch where it keeps putting me to the upper left there when I try and zoom in with the mouse. Wish I still had my installation CDs, but I lost that when I moved. But yeah, I've got a guy who wants a little animated spokesman for his video game commercial, and I've got a very crude animatic done. I'm going to try and refine it a little bit after I finish up this. Between that and trying to finish up the current segment of Dungeons and Debt, I've been very behind on stuff. Here we are. That's starting to look a little bit better. Yeah, there's a certain amount of depth you gotta have to get the perspective to work. I'm still kind of figuring that out myself, just because I've never fussed with this stuff. I just do it. And I really am trying to level up a little bit here. Oops. This needs to go right there. Because even though I'm not going to do anything special with the competition that I'm submitting this to, I still want to have it there just to see if I can't get some interesting feedback. So yeah, you can see all the blank space that I've still got left there. Problem is that the background area is going to be drenched in fog after I finish up a little bit more of the detail here. So I'll have to fill that up. But I was watching some old horror movies the other night for inspiration on proper lighting and things like that for stuff like this. Didn't quite get the answer I wanted, but I got a few ideas. It's every little bit helps. I was watching the old Karloff Frankenstein the other night. Fun film. Still trying to think over how to incorporate some of that look and style into Eventually when I get back to animating it, my webisode pilot for Dollars of the Damned, because I want to really mimic that. Just been finding myself missing some of the old classic movie monster stuff a little bit more these days. And I actually just found out it looks like Universal is plotting on trying to get that shared monster universe going again. Don't think they realize that people don't really care about that as much as they think they do. Either that or people just remember how awful that last Mummy film that they released with Tom Cruise was. I've only seen snippets of it. I never had any interest in pursuing it. There we are. Got just that last little bit of detail there. So yeah, I've been doing some more research on psychology and stuff like that, and Jungian archetypes, trying to find some other ways to flesh out characters more visually. And I kind of figured, since I want to try and get characters to stand out a little bit more on who they are inward, I'd start to study that. Don't got any answers on that yet, but I'm hoping that I keep looking, the answer will present itself within due time. Still got a storm going on outside. Don't know where you are, but it is windy as hell. Over here it's finally stopped a little bit. But I'm not sure if it was a smart thing to mention that, because anytime you do, the wind just picks up even more. Hope I don't have internet problems this time. There we go. I think that's going to be the last of the detail there, because I need to have some blank spot there for Shasta. Okay, it's not the fullest looking graveyard yet. Yeah. Watching old horror films to get ideas on atmosphere and tone helps out a lot. But it doesn't always work if I can't get the right idea. But I think we can get rid of that layer there. Because yeah, as of right now, this is the bare minimum that I would need to establish that this is a graveyard, but I'm trying to get a little bit more scale. So there's only one thing to do. That is the faint outline here. It's always nice to be able to play around with perspective and make things a little bit weirder. Yeah, that'll do. And that creates the illusion of just a little bit more scope. When I originally did this, and I was using a different art style, I was more occupied with creating a dreamlike quality of the background, and that kind of took away from it because the scope of everything... damn it. Auto save. The scope of everything was minimized. And I wanted everything to look a little bit bigger than it was. So yeah, that's kind of working. Just gonna do this last section over here, and then I think that's gonna be it. Then I will have the reaction panel down. Double check my grave site references here. Ah, there we are. Yeah, I was looking through gravestones earlier to try and find out which ones to use here so I don't have to copy and paste everything, because I don't want to be that lazy. But I still want to get some variety here, just because the last time I was at a grave site, I did notice that there's all kinds of different looking headstones. And if you catch that variety, it brings just a little bit more life to what you got. But I don't actually want to go hang out at a graveyard and study all that stuff, just because that's not really a fun place to be around. Not to mention, you never know what's hanging around there. So I always hear stories about people getting told to leave. Back when I lived in California, there was one graveyard. People would actually get told to leave by voices, but nobody was ever around. They were alone. You'd hear a demanding voice that would say, "Get out of here." Just do that last one. Oh. There. Okay, that creates a moderately crude little scope. It's not bad. It's kind of exciting to finally see some of this stuff come to life. Because I've been sitting on and drawing Breached for a while there, just because I wanted to get a new art style going. There we go. I think that's actually looking pretty serviceable. I think I'm just gonna add this all in the same layer here, just for the sake of simplicity. There we go. Okay, I've got a graveyard. Get rid of a little bit of font here. Yeah, I've been doing some more research on SCPs and Lovecraftian stuff and looking for the middle ground. Got a few answers there. It's hard to find ways to make stuff original, though. I keep trying. And it's always kind of a pain in the ass when you find out the idea you've had other people have done several times over and either did it better or beat you to the punch. So I guess there's not much for me to do but keep trying to improve my art skills just a little bit. There we go. Oops. Yeah, I was trying to get a little bit more perspective here with where Shasta is located in the image. I think I'm just going to have to center this a little bit. There we go. Just steal her hand. Whoops. Just to be a little lazy here. I was watching a few Silent Hill analysis videos and just getting depressed, because I do miss a lot of the stuff that Team Silent did with that series, but it's kind of just been dormant for so long. been hearing rumors that it sounds like Konami has hired a studio to remake Silent Hill 2. And I don't know if that's such a good idea. Not just not just because all they could really get away with would be probably a one-for-one remake. Because you can't take a story like that and retell it if you're not the guy who wrote it. And last I heard, he's busy with his own studio now and doing his own stuff. So I think they're kind of opening themselves up for disappointment. Because even though I know the community would love to have a new Silent Hill game or even a remake of one of the classics, they're going to try and find ways to extend stuff and add to it. And if you're not the writer, I don't think you should play with that. Especially in the case of Silent Hill 2, where they really did their best to be subtle with everything. And I know that's the holy grail for survival horror for a lot of people. But I don't know. I don't get a lot of faith in the AAA studios these days. I am still angry at Capcom for dropping the ball as much as they did on the Resident Evil series, but that's just me. It's okay. You don't have to have questions all the time. Ooh, I can hear the wind picking up again outside. Yeah, we get some bitchin' thunderstorms over here. It's kind of nice. Especially when you're inside, you don't have to be out in the wind. Okay, I'll just try and catch a bit of the neck and shoulders here. Actually, it might just because I'm feeling lazy. I'm tempted to see if I can get away with drawing a little bit less. Stop it. There we go. I think that kind of gets the impression of what I want there. I'm trying to have the character look a little smaller than she actually is here to increase the scope of everything. It's not a perfect solution. Doesn't quite create the illusion I was after because I'd have to add another layer of graves back there, but I think I've got 3 layers already, and that's enough. Then I can just do some shading back there in Krita. Yeah, I've been just a little overloaded on trying to finish up some more of Dungeons and Debt, just because I've got a deadline on that. I didn't intend to have a deadline on it. It was originally going to be its own thing, but I kind of wanted to submit something to Newgrounds Pico Day this year, and I didn't have anything but that, and so I've got it as a Castle Crashers reference now. Details are a wonderful thing, but you can't focus too much on them all the time, or else you don't get anything done, and that's a hard lesson. I just finished animating. Was it another chunk of the sword fight for Dungeons and Debt today, and it is almost done. I kind of wish I could make it another 2 seconds long, but it's going to take me the rest of the week to finish doing the line work on everything, and I don't quite have that much time because I've got, let's see, 11. Yeah, I've got 3 weeks to finish up that tune. That's not a lot of time, especially since I got a joke I really want to do that I might have to cut. But the idea is I'm partially trying to also figure out how to do a standalone 1 minute animated short. Since the last time I did a short tune for YouTube, I got lots of views and lots of new subs. And I haven't had success like that with any of my videos for a long time, so I want to try and see if I can't do that again. But I also don't want to skimp on the story, because I really do like to kind of push an episodic format on stuff. Double check details there, good. Because I've got new character designs for Joy and those tunes going on right now also. And I haven't even gotten back to that. I've got one last tune that I'm drawing everything in the old style. And that includes the older video resolution size, which is the what's the word I'm looking for? The more condensed one. So it's not the proper widescreen. I've been drawing on that resolution for too long, and I need to get out of it. So yeah, I've picked up a lot of bad habits as an artist. It's nice to finally break some of them, but even so, it does make me feel a little bit more like I isolated myself a bit more than I should have. But I've only really had this last year to grow, so I've got a lot of catching up to do. Oh, we'll see. So the guy I'm doing the animated video for, he's a little paranoid, and I get that. I think he kind of wants to be the only one who has the finished video. And if that's the case, that's fine. He can have that, and I'll just make sure I can get a link to it so I can post a link on the channel. But he's got some particulars that I'm doing my best to match. And I wanted to make sure that I give him what he wants, because I've actually never done a tune like this for anybody, so he got a real big discount on the animation. Because I think he's looking at, what is it, about a 30-second animated tune. And I'm hoping what he'll do is he'll take the animation I give him, and he'll do 2 tunes. He said he wanted to do 1 tune with just his little animated character pitching the game. And I recommended to him to take all the animation I give him and split it up with some footage from the game, just so you can show people what you've got, because you can't just do an animated spokesman and not have him actually show off the product. But I've only got a little bit of that done, because it's a little janky. Plan 9 is pretty hard to watch. Ed Wood was really awful at what he did, but he was moderately cohesive. He's not as bad as Neil Breen or James Wen, who did the Birdemic films. But even so, I've been trying to figure out what the hell Ed Wood's deal has been ever since I watched some of his films. Because some stuff you can watch a bad movie and entirely see what the director or the writer was going for. And with Ed Wood's stuff, he gets lost in just kind of being weird. I don't quite know why. I just know he died a very horrible death because he was dying of liver failure at home, and his relationship with his girlfriend had broke down quite a bit because he was such a heavy drinker. He'd essentially killed his liver by the time I think he was 52, 53. And he was upstairs, she was downstairs, and she said he was screaming for her. And because they fought so much, she didn't think anything of it and just kind of ignored him because she figured he was in a mood. And yeah, they only had one phone. And I'm guessing due to the condition he was in, he didn't have the stamina to get downstairs. But even so, I can say his films had some charm to them. I actually enjoyed... What was that terrible one with Bela Lugosi and Tor Johnson where they're in the swamp? And Lugosi dies by wrestling with the octopus. Yeah. Well, I like it when it rains. It's visually, it's always nice to have something going on outside in the sky, I find. Granted, it does mean I don't get to go outside and go for a walk or do anything like that, which kind of stinks. But I've always liked looking outside and watching the clouds go in the sky when it gets really cloudy. And the smell of fresh rain getting blown through the wind is really nice and comforting. The only one who doesn't really like any of that is the cat. And she's a weirdo, so I try not to listen to her. Oops. There we go. And either way, it's nice to have outlets, considering how crazy I'm seeing parts of the world get these days. Kind of makes me sad that there isn't anything you can do to stop all the crazy shit that's going on, but that's probably something everybody says at some point. You realize how helpless you are to stop a lot of bad stuff from happening. All you can do is wait and hope that people mellow out some. I haven't been keeping up with the baby formula shortage, but all I gotta say is I hope people can get through that and not lose their minds too much, because there's a lot of money in chaos these days, and I really don't like that. I almost wish it was one side of the political aisle doing it, because then if it was just the one side doing it, then all you got to do is take care of the side that's doing it, and the problem's solved. But that isn't how reality works. Everybody's making so much bank off all the misery and all the chaos right now, and I can just shake my head. Hope people don't lose their minds too much, because I'm starting to see shortages around where I live. Nothing major yet, thankfully, but give it time. Also, I can't say I'm a fan of the new gas prices. Ugh. Even though where I live it's $4.20 now, I don't live in a rich area anymore. So that actually isn't very good. So when you live in a more low income area and everybody needs gas and stuff, and it starts hitting $4.25, that starts really chewing up people's money. Just a little bit more progress there. I think that's going to be it. So just get Shasta's head on there, and this is done. I'm starting to find I want to put a little less dialogue in how I'm writing this, just so the character's reaction can sell more about what's going on. Some of that's just the rule of screenwriting that I've been trying to be a little bit more dogmatic on, where you don't have characters say everything that comes to their mind. You got to pick and choose, and you try to find words that aren't too on the nose or obvious, and you can put some nuance and subtlety in there. Even when you have a character like Shasta, who's not meant to be a subtle character, it elevates the storytelling just a little bit. Just increase. But yeah, everything in the world of entertainment these days is kind of just irritating. I don't know if it's irritating on purpose or Hollywood just doesn't like money. But I'm kind of finding myself missing, I guess, more there was a time in the 1980s. I only remember a little bit of it because I was a kid. But there was a time in the 1980s where everybody was kind of a little bit more crazy with their ideas, and it added a lot more life to their films. So like RoboCop, Evil Dead, Aliens, Predator, Terminator, they all had this really interesting energy to them as films. And I really am missing that. I don't know whatever happened to that. Maybe other than people say that what ended up happening was the 1990s just did away with all that stuff. I'm trying to remember if there's anything I can actually pinpoint on some of that, but nothing comes to mind. They just don't make film. I guess it's they don't make films the way they used to, for better or worse. Because even though I love how much cheaper it is to do effects now, and it kind of makes me miss actually shooting stuff on and trying to actually make a movie. But I got so burned out on doing live action stuff all those years ago, just because you can't do it all yourself, and you gotta have like 6 or 7 people there to help you with lighting and cameras and things like that, not to mention the actors and stuff. And that was one of my last years actually doing film, and I had the worst luck. I couldn't get anybody to actually stick around for more than like a day of shooting, except for my friends. But my friends didn't have the knowledge on how to make stuff function properly, and I didn't have all that knowledge either. So I just got real bitter about it and stopped doing live action stuff, even though I don't have anything against it. I just find myself a little miffed. Yeah, there is a famous leaker, and he's got some decent credit to his name. And over the past, what was it, 3 or so years, he's leaked several games, information, and in the detail on certain details of them, and he's actually been right a lot more often than he's been wrong. So he said that they were going to that there's about 3 new Silent Hill games coming out. I forget his name. It's like Dusk Golem or something, but his word isn't technically gospel to a lot of the survival horror community. He's been right about a lot of stuff. He was the one that leaked what Resident Evil 3 was going to be about 4 months before they even had the first trailer. And he was the one that said it's going to be drastically different from the original game. They're going to be enemies cut, and it's basically a complete overhaul on what Resident Evil 3 was. And I lowered my expectations to it, and I really fucking hated that game. I didn't even play it. I just watched other people play it and hated that game top to bottom, up and down. The graphics were nice. I hated that they got rid of the puzzles. I hated the enemy redesigns. Didn't like the neutering Nemesis, and I'm thankful that this guy actually spoke up about this, because I might have bought that game. But he was also the one that leaked what Resident Evil 4, what 8 was going to be. And now that he's leaked that there are 3 Silent Hill titles coming out. He even posted some images of one, and I don't know what type of a Silent Hill game it looks like it's going to be, other than I think Konami's out of ideas because they're also doing the first-person stuff. I don't really like first-person horror for Silent Hill or Resident Evil. I know Resident Evil at one point was going to be an FPS, but I'm happy they went third-person, just because I always like to see where the character is on the screen when I'm doing stuff. I don't do so well with first-person, depending on the game genre, but yeah, so there's one studio has been given the task for Silent Hill 2. They're apparently going to remake it, and I don't know if there's anything they can really do to improve upon the game's story, because you can add in some new settings and stuff, but all the psychological things that are in the game, you kinda can't touch that unless you're the writer. And as for whatever the new Silent Hill game they have with they've got a girl. They had a picture of the face of a girl who had tattoos all over her face, and one of them, everybody was calling it the Jared Leto Joker, because she has like "I hate myself" tattooed on her face. Everybody on the thread I saw reading that was getting flashbacks to the Jared Leto Joker damage tattoo on his forehead. But yeah, this leakers also confirms the Resident Evil 4 remake is coming out, and they've cut content on that as well. So they've gotten rid of a few of the bosses. They've expanded a few small characters, like the Chainsaw Man now has apparently a backstory of some kind. I don't know. Don't give me these half-assed remakes. You know, if you can't match the original, don't even try. And I still consider Resident Evil 2's remake to be kind of wanky. It's not a bad game, it's just they cut too much content, and then they made too many changes to the story for me to really want to invest time and money. And also, I'm kind of disappointed. They've done 2 Resident Evil remakes, and nobody on the dev team is giving any consideration to adding any real randomization to the game. And not doing that for the 3rd game was really painful, because the original dev team back in 1999, when they made Resident Evil 3, they planned ahead. They had they had the alternate paths you could take. They had randomization with enemies based off certain criteria, and you could play, it compensated for the fact that it was only a single playthrough story, but you had different outcomes. You still had 2 endings, and I thought that was really clever. And then when they put out that crummy remake, it's got 1 ending, 1 path, nothing alternate, nothing randomized, neutered enemies, and yeah, I could bitch about that all day. I still need to do some kind of a goofy video about that. Still not quite over having to do all the talking, though. I see if I can't just get a voice actor to talk for me. Okay, it's got to be a little higher. Damn. I forgot one thing. Drawing Shasta's hair more like how I used to draw it, and I'm completely forgetting the new style that I'm doing with the hair. But either way, there we go. That's better. Either way, I was watching Frankenstein last night, thinking how much of a shame it is that Hollywood never put out a Lovecraftian horror film in black and white in the 1930s. Because that would have been really, really damn cool to see them do. But he wasn't known by them in the 1930s. And they only found a little bit of his work in the 1960s. There was an old Roger Corman film called The Haunted Castle, which they advertise as an Edgar Allan Poe story, because Corman was doing Poe adaptations in the 1960s with Vincent Price. This isn't Poe. It's Lovecraft. It's the strange case of Charles Dexter Ward. And you can see Vincent Price as sort of a dual personality character who's a descendant of a warlock. And he's there to take his revenge on the town. Now that the soul of the warlock who was executed by the townspeople has, like, I think it's what, great grandson's body. He starts going after the descendants of the people who killed him. And it had lots of really weird body horror stuff in there. It was cheesy makeup, but they had one moment where the townspeople try and scare him away. And so they let all the freaks come out and surround him. They've got somebody who's born without eyes and a mouth. They had a little girl who was missing her mouth and has like a malformed ear. They had somebody else who also had some cheesy makeup on, and they try to scare him away. And it doesn't work. It's not the greatest jump scare scene either, or even the best creepy moment from a film. But it gets the point across. And it was very early body horror. But it was a fun film. It wasn't one of Corman's best, but some of that came down to the story kind of splintered off. But Vincent Price was still fun to watch in it because you get to see him play two characters. So I guess I'm kind of trying to do that with Dollars of the Damned, even though I've only got the pilot done, and I'm really pissed off because I should have had the second episode done and be on the third by now, because I wanted to do a full season of this by myself, maybe 5 episodes, about 10 minutes an episode, so that'd be 50 minutes or so, but I'm not at that point yet. I've only barely started a little bit on animating the pilot as is. Yeah, I'm going to have to shrink this down a little bit. But either way, yeah, I've just been looking at the old Lovecraftian stuff. Region on the Atom? Never heard of that one. Which one's that? It's not quite looking right. Double check my reference. Oh, that's right. Bride of the Atom. Bride of the Monster. That's the old Ed Wood film. Yeah, that was a pretty terrible movie. Lugosi was good in it though. He was really the only thing in that film that stood out, other than Tor Johnson being a great big fat guy. I always remember Tor Johnson more from the equally awful Coleman Francis film. What was that one they did on MST3K? It was hilarious. It was hilariously bad. It was The Beast of Yucca Flats. That's it. Whew. That was a that was a weird one. I don't think I don't think they even really knew what the hell they were doing with it, so much as they were just filming something and hoping for the best. I'm seeing a contradiction here between the head and the hands. I think I'm gonna have to just be a little extra lazy. Gets the point across and all still, but I'm trying to keep some of my details intact. There we go. Yeah, I do miss black and white movies just because of some of the interesting things you could do with the lighting in them. Even though I was never the biggest fan of it, that was one thing in Citizen Kane I always really liked, was how they blocked the scenes and did all the lighting and created weird illusions that would say stuff about the characters. It's just a shame the script wasn't as quotable as some of the other films that he did, because it is a downer of a movie, but it is got really fantastic atmosphere, and it's got a nice mystery to it, even though it's a downer movie. Yeah, Orson Welles just got screwed by Hollywood until the day he died for Citizen Kane. He was on their shit list after that. And they just used the fact that Hearst hated him to keep it going even long after Hearst died. Yeah, that's still not quite right. Damn it. Here I am nitpicking, even though I could call it a day. But I'm trying to get the elbows out just a little bit more there to match the previous shot. Oops. There we go. I think that's going to be it. At least I'm hopeful. Yep. Goddamn autosave. Blech. As grateful as I am for the autosave feature, it gets to be a real pain in the ass. Because it always happens when I'm in the middle of something and I'm just kind of caught in what I'm doing, and then I have to wait for the autosave to finish up. shakiness isn't happy with this either. I'll just have to be a little lazier. There. Oh. Yeah, that's gotta go. There we are. That was a pain in the butt to get that last part finished, but I think that'll do. Yeah, I haven't even added in her dialogue there yet. There we are. I think that's going to be it for today. Damn it, it took me an extra 40 minutes to finish that. I wanted to try and get another panel done. I think that's going to be it for right now, though, because I got to go get started on dinner. Got my father on a new heart-healthy diet since he was having some trouble a few weeks back. So I end up cooking fish just about every night now for him. Make a salad to go with it, and that's kind of how my evenings are. Otherwise, I'd spend another hour working on this. So, other than that, that's going to be it for this stream. Sorry I didn't have any really interesting stories to share this time. I'll try and plan ahead just a little bit next time. So, other than that, thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you guys